Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so part two of the video I was just making, and of course, the manager knocked on the door, so I got stuff going on in my apartment that needs my attention. So, yeah, I couldn't just say, hey, thanks, you guys, bye. I had to abruptly hang up the phone like y'all was somebody I knew. So, I'm back for this part two. Here we are. So, we were talking about the Golden State Warriors before I was interrupted, and what we were essentially saying was the Golden State Warriors are a team that has lost some very key pieces. Obviously, Otto Porter Jr., um, Gary Payton II, two players that I personally think they're having a hard time replacing. Players that are now being asked to step forward have different strengths. They're not as defensive inclined as those guys were on the wing. So now you're asking guys like Klay Thompson to kind of take on some assignments that maybe he didn't have to take on last year because of the presence of those guys. Um, Guys like Moody and Wiseman are asked to take on different roles, bigger roles, and maybe they're not quite polished enough to take on those roles at the level they need to be in order for this team to replete as champions. So that's kind of where the conversation was before I ended it. And I think I was pretty much at the end of it, to be honest with you. But all in all, the Golden State Warriors are a team that I still think is going to get it together. That's essentially what I was leaning on, leading up to saying at the end of the video. I don't expect their defensive woes to ultimately define their team. I think they're going to morph into a more offensive team than they were last year, and I think they're going to put up a lot of points once they fully get all of those offensive players that have been on their team kind of in the background while they've been waiting for certain guys to get out the way. Now it's time for them to step up. I think they're going to turn into an offensive team that fit those strengths of those players. So as I look forward, just continue to talk about more teams. Another team that's just sticking out in regards to everything that I've been paying attention to is the LA Clippers. And the reason why is because they've been dropping games that most people expect them to win because of the fact that they have this contender attitude about themselves as it pertains to the players that are coming back from injury, being tasked with bringing them a championship level situation, which I just think is always a mistake when you do that. But that's what they've done. You know, they're waiting on Kawhi Leonard to come back. We don't know what the situation is there, but we will wait as we hear more. Like I told you guys many times, I just don't know if he's ever going to play the game again, to be honest with you. I've just felt like he's very cautious about his body, so it's one of those situations where the Clippers are going to have to take it upon themselves to realize that, believe that, and then move on from him. Because if they're waiting for him to tell them this, they're not going to get that. It's not going to happen. So that's my take on the Clippers. I don't have much of a take on the Clippers. I just want to encourage everybody to be careful betting on them because they're a fake contender. Simply put, not a real one until they get themselves a backup center to help Zubats out. So that's going to be my take on that team until the cows come home. They better fix that issue. It's going to be an issue. And so, like, I look at the New York Knicks and I just say they're a team right there who they're not in limbo, but I know that they didn't execute their plan. Their plan was to bring in Donovan Mitchell. Now, me personally, I think that was going to help ruin them. I think that was something not to want if you were the New York Knicks. But I don't think they're satisfied. I look at the game they just had. They let OKC drop 145 points on them in their house. Nah, they're not satisfied. This is a team that still probably would love to make a decision that would mortgage their future for a superstar. They still want that superstar. I think that. And if I'm a team that's looking to move on from one, I want everything that the Knicks have because they got about 7 picks and a bunch of young players on rookie contracts that are going to play very well for you. You think about what Utah was able to do by taking the plunder from the Minnesota Timberwolves and ultimately turning their team into something really, really good the way that they have. You think about being able to do that with what the Knicks have. You think about giving Obi Toppin a bigger role. You think about giving Quickly a bigger role. You think about the possibilities of what Grimes can do on both sides of the floor. And then you think about the picks that they have, and you just realize, whether they know it or not, they're in a great position to get whatever it is that they will want over time if they just utilize those assets properly. So, given the fact that I expect that they want to go all in right now, if I'm a team that's looking to move on from some young guys, like let's say Houston Rockets, maybe I do want to move on from a Josh Christopher or somebody like that. or Jabari Smith, that would probably be one of the teams that I would look at and say, okay, if I'm going to do a deal to get rid of something that's probably shouldn't be getting rid of, I'll probably do it with the Knicks and take stuff from them because they got a bunch of stuff that they probably don't mind getting rid of that they shouldn't be wanting to get rid of either. So that's kind of how I'm looking at that. The Knicks are definitely a trade partner that you should want to do business with. Yeah, it's little stuff like that I'm paying attention to, The Boston Celtics are for real. And if anybody don't know that, they think the Missoula was going to be a problem. You better think again. They got the same roster they had last year, only add Malcolm Brogdon to it. It's a very serious problem that we all have as Celtic haters, because I do not want to admit that I think that they're probably the leading favorite to win the NBA championship right now, in my mind. I just look at them as a team that has a whole lot of synergy. You got players like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum who are completely entering their prime and are fully developed. I can honestly say that I think that they're both there. Actually, Jason Tatum still has some more growing to do, believe it or not. We saw that in the playoffs with his shooting, but I mean, this is a very, very, very elite MVP candidate at this point, who's starting off the season about as hot as anybody right now. So I look at them, I look at the Cleveland Cavaliers. Those are probably the two teams that I'm most excited about in the Eastern Conference in terms of them coming out. I'm a fan of those two rosters, even though I definitely am not a fan of the teams. But, when you look at what they have and what they're capable of doing, I know they're capable. Both of those teams are going to have to duke it out. That'll probably be your Eastern Conference Finals. Even though I've been on the Philly bandwagon, I'm just wondering how James Harden and Embiid are ultimately going to hold up. That's why I'm not as confident. I just wonder if they'll hold up. I got a lot more faith in the many pieces that Cleveland and Boston have in that way. It's one of those situations where it's like, okay, I look at the Boston Celtics and I understand that they kept just about everybody. Bringing in Brogdon, as I said, Brogdon is going to help facilitate the basketball, help stretch the floor a little more. He's a really, really talented guy who just happens to have a lot of injury issues, but when he's out there, he's damn near elite, honestly. When you look at his stats from night to night to night, he's an elite player. It's just that you never expect him to stay healthy for longer than 25, 30 games a season. So that's the only thing keeping Malcolm Brogdon from being an all-star. But if he ever gets healthy, if he strings together 2 or 3 healthy seasons, all 3 of those seasons may be all-star seasons. That's how naturally gifted I believe Malcolm Brogdon is. Someone who won the Rookie of the Year many years back. So, yeah, Malcolm Brogdon. As I look at him being a part of this Boston Celtics team, I just realize, like Jamal Murray, like some of these other guys who have been in injury situations over the last several years, the more basketball they play and stay healthy, the better conditioning they're going to be, and ultimately the more dangerous they're going to be. So by the end of the season, Malcolm Brogdon is going to be one of the best Celtics on the floor, and they did not need another all-star down there. They didn't. So, yeah, history tells us Malcolm's going to get hurt and probably miss a lot of time. But if that does not happen, look for the Boston Celtics possibly to win the whole championship. And that's coming from a Laker fan that desperately does not want that to happen. But if they were to run to this Golden State Warrior team right now, they'd sweep them. There wouldn't be they wouldn't lose to Golden State. They'd sweep Golden State. I'm telling you right now, this is a different situation if they run that team right now. Just being honest. And so that's what I think. I think that the Boston Celtics are a damn good bet to be coming out of the East. I really think that. And the Western Conference, I don't know. I'm going to be honest and say that I think we're going to see a Western Conference contender manifest from a very tough playoffs. It may be somebody we're not expecting. But I'll tell you this. As I look at how things are shaping up right now, I don't think Dame Lillard would be the worst bet. I don't think that. I'm not saying he's my favorite to come out of the West. I'm just saying that somebody who's lined up to overachieve this year, it's him. It's him. He's healthy. We know he's a killer, and he's never had enough help. I think he may actually have it. Now, when you say enough, you define it a certain way. Some people say enough means a championship level. Some people think enough is just enough to make him feel good about competing. Some people think enough may be getting to the East Western Conference Finals. When I say enough, I mean Dame Lillard has always been able to drag basically nothing wherever he takes it. He can win a playoff series with scrubs all over his roster. What I'm saying is he doesn't have scrubs all over his roster anymore. In fact, he has some very talented players to where even if he has a season-ending season like last year, knock on wood, we do not want that. I think that the Portland Trailblazers could win upwards of 35, 40 games without him. That's how talented they are. You got look at a guy like Shaedon Sharpe. I don't know how good he's going to be someday, but I know he's going to be very good someday. Anthony Simons is going to be an all-star. In fact, he might be an all-star this year, the way he's playing. Josh Hart, close to one. The way he's developing our young player that we drafted the Lakers here, he's turning into something for real. You got to deal with him. Jeremy Grant, too, playing like an all-star. You know, so it's like, don't look now, but they got a bunch of guys playing super well. Nurkic is having a healthy season. So, Nurkic doesn't have to, it's not like you're waiting for him to do something outside of what comes naturally for him in order for him to play well. He going to play well just from being on the floor, rebounding the ball, and dunking. So that right there makes him someone you have to deal with as well. He's got a lot of talent, man. I look at that Portland Trailblazer team and I say, Dame doesn't need a whole lot, but he has a lot more than he's had before. So that's like, okay, good luck. Good luck, ladies and gentlemen. I know the Portland Trailblazer situation has been cap-strapped pretty much his whole career. This is the first year where this is not the case. Simply put, it's just simply not. They have their money in order for the first time. They got their cap in positions for them to be happy and improve. And they should be ready to win now with their roster. Or should be able to make trades to bring Dame's better stuff if necessary. They should have some of that to do that. So, yeah, it's all about Chauncey Billups continuing to work with those guys, get the most out of them. And I really do believe that empowering Shaedon Sharpe and developing him very fast would be a big plus for their franchise. If he remains a role player throughout the season, then they're kind of capped off. But if he can turn him into a starter and get that athleticism to pop off the screen like it naturally will, that's a dangerous team, man. Very dangerous. So that's something that I'm noticing there. It needs to be understood and respected. That's why I look at teams like the Clippers. I'm like, nah. What'll end up happening is they'll run into that team and get knocked off. That's what I honestly think. Not gonna work out. So these are the type of things we're gonna have to get into our minds and see if I'm right about these things, because I just think it's the youth movement is now the real movement. I think it's a chance you might see a 22-year-old guy hoist the championship next year or this year. Like, this is that time. This is not the time where we're looking at old guys and saying, okay, the old guys dictate what happens. No, they're not. They're actually not. The old guys are at the bottom of the league because they need to be on teams that have a bunch of young guys on it if they want to compete in this era. So that's what the reality is going to show us. It's the Orlandos and the OKCs and the Detroits and those teams that are really going to be competitive as the NBA unfolds going forward. And it's going to be the Lakers and the Nets and some of these teams that have been doing it for a long time. They're going to take some steps backwards. So that's just what it is. Who else, man? Who else can I talk about in this rapid fire, man? It's a bunch of teams that are doing good things. I don't know. My mind's going blank. The Milwaukee Bucks need to be talked about, though. I know that's somebody I don't talk enough about because they're such Groundhog Day to me, to be honest with you. It's like, did they switch up 3 players on the roster this year? They're coming back with the exact same team they won the championship with 3 years ago. So it's one of those situations where it's like, either you believe they had enough the whole time or not. And obviously they've proven they do. So why would you not think that they can come back out and win it again? I think the thing that stands in the way for me with that team is understanding that they're doing all of this very uniquely without Middleton. And while most people would automatically think that Middleton's going to make them a better team, which he definitely does, I think the process of bringing him back into this fold is going to shake up some things a little bit. See, it's a perfect mixture of what's working right now. Everybody's role and everybody's doing exactly what they need to do to get success. That's why they're not losing. Once you switch that ever so slightly, you're going to see a result that's going to change that. Even if it's supposed to be for the better, it takes everyone else and makes it so that they're doing something else. And that isn't what is working, simply put. So that's why it's going to be a little bit of an interesting thing to see if they're going to be able to sustain the same amount of success once Middleton comes back in the short term. But as they come into their own, they start getting him back into it, he starts becoming himself, I expect them to continue to dominate. They are a dominant team. Giannis is a dominant legend. with an NBA championship and MVPs in his past and probably in his future as well. And I just look at him as somebody who's probably not done winning championships. So if he doesn't get one this year, I'm pretty sure his Bucks will get one again. So I'm not saying that I have them winning it this year, but I don't think betting against them is the greatest thing in the world, to be honest with you. I really don't. Look at guys like Bobby Portis in place. Thought it might be a chance he might go to Golden State or something like that. It didn't happen. He re-signed for an affordable amount. That was a dangerous thing for the rest of the league. At least he could have overpaid. They could have overpaid him or something. Getting him back at a discount or a decent price just drives home the point that they can really do it. Drew Holiday's playing good. And it's just one of the situations where it's like Marshawn Beauchamp. Got to give him credit. That's a young player they just picked up who has a lot of ability. So for me, I'm looking at the Bucks and I'm excited about them, just off the sheer fact that they're bringing back everybody. You know, all these other teams are trying to do it new. You know, the Lakers, if they happen to make a trade that they're excited about, everything is new. Now we're trying to race against the clock as it pertains to continuity. A team like Bucks, they know each other so well at this point that they probably don't even need to schedule practices anymore. They know each other back and front, just like Golden State. So it's one of them situations where I'm just like looking at the Bucks and I'm saying it's kind of laid out flat for them to win it. And Giannis is one of the most durable players in the world. So it's just really about who can strategize against them in the playoffs. And are there teams that are going to be able to just overcome them? And judging by how they're structured, I do wonder because they're top heavy, right? So that's what it comes down to. For me, the philosophy is I don't believe in building around 3 players. So if you're going to do that, I think you give up a lot and end up having some issues on the back of your bench as to which you end up giving up leads and things of that nature, which I think ultimately will hurt you in the long run. So I think that depth is why I'm not as gung-ho about the Milwaukee Bucks as the evidence should show me I should be, I guess. Because I just know that they're going to be running some guys that ain't quite that good if for some reason they get into some injuries from here. But who knows? You know, who knows? They're dealing with a big-time injury as we speak, obviously, and they're doing as well as they are. So who knows? But I respect them to the utmost, but I haven't chosen them as my champion. That's basically what I have to say about that. So yeah, that's my rapid fire, man. That's my rapid fire for the day. You know, I understand that the Reuters guys are going to be coming in, so I might have a chance to fix my kitchen, or at least start the process of fixing this kitchen floor after all. If you guys have been following me, that's like the deal for my day. Just waiting on people to fix this thing all day. So yeah, we've been waiting on this for a couple years, so we're finally getting it done, and I'm very thankful. But anyway, man, I'm more so thankful for you guys peeking in on your boy and, of course, supporting everything that I do. BDF 44, I thank you all for watching.